A Charlotte man accused of stealing nearly $300,000 from Amazon. And lawyers say he did it all just through the company's returns policy.
Kimberly Moore was at her health administrator job when she received a strange call on her cell phone.
Call is regarding your purchase from Amazon.com.
Amazon is out with a blunt new warning for this holiday season. Scammers are trying to get your personal information. This year, Amazon says it has shut down more than 45,000 phishing sites and more than 15,000 scammer phone numbers.
Paying very close attention, and when it comes down to it, they might be a big company, but this is still fraud.
This Bay Area woman is the prime suspect in an Amazon fraudulent return scheme. Good evening, I'm Keith Kate.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Investigators say she gamed the return process to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in refunds from Amazon.
Many people in this world will always look for loopholes in the system to potentially exploit to become ultra-rich. And this was the case for Jeffrey Talsma. Watch the full video to see how this man was able to pull off this sophisticated scheme and taking well over $3.2 million.
Wake up, filthy.
October 14th, 2021. Jeffrey Talsma was arrested on a felony indictment in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Police charged him with mail and wire fraud, interstate transportation of stolen property, aggravated identity theft, and making false statements to the FBI. From January 16 to March 2021, Jeffrey figured out how to defraud Amazon book rental program on multiple levels, and he exploited it so he couldn't exploit it no more. In case you aren't familiar with textbooks, they are stupid expensive. I'm talking hundreds of dollars for a book that you'll barely use for a couple of months and never touch again. Amazon's book rental program is a lifesaver for students. You get to rent books for a whole semester at a fraction of the cost, which is amazing, especially when you're juggling multiple classes. You can have a bunch of books rented at once, up to 15 per account. It's pretty fair, I think. They charge your debit or credit card linked to your Amazon account, and if you miss the return date, you'll end up paying the full book price. But there's a downside. Some folks play the system. They mess with the info when creating Amazon accounts to make multiple ones. And here's the kicker. They're not really in it for studying. They rent tons of books and never plan to return them. Instead, they sell them back to Amazon or through local bookstores in states like Michigan, Kentucky, Oregon, and more. This isn't about hitting the books for a PhD or any degree. It's a money-making hustle by reselling those rentals. According to the indictment, Jeffrey orchestrated a scheme involving the creation of numerous Amazon accounts using subtly different details and even using names of other people. He'd tweak email addresses, phone numbers, and delivery addresses, sometimes paying others to use their address or misleading them about the purpose behind his orders, roping them into his book distribution setup. On top of that, he got others involved, using their identities to keep things running smoothly. He'd link these Amazon accounts to prepaid vanilla Visa gift cards with just enough money to cover the initial book rental fees. And when it was time for Amazon to charge these accounts, those charges would bounce right off because the gift cards didn't have any names on them. So Amazon couldn't trace it back to Jeffrey. But wait, it gets crazier. Jeffrey would call up Amazon pretending to be these made-up people multiple times. He'd say he didn't get his orders or got totally different stuff instead of textbooks. And get this, he'd claim he got things like lighters, alcohol wipes, silicone stuff, and even flammable items like tiki torch fluid. He knew Amazon wouldn't ask for those things back. There's this one part in the indictment where Jeffrey straight up lies to an Amazon rep, saying he got fuel oil that caused a fire in his trash. He was spinning a web of lies each time. And you know what Amazon did? They'd send him another book, refund him with an Amazon gift card, or put the cash back in his account. No matter what, he'd just keep using that money to rent more books and make more cash. Talk about a crazy scheme. Remember when I mentioned Jeffrey brought in a crew to help with his scheme? Well, 3 of these folks, Love Deep Sink, Noah Greg Mark Gleason, and Paul Stephen Larson, started off just helping out. But over time, they became students in Jeffrey's textbook rental hustle. He showed them all the tricks, ran the whole show, and together they made a crazy $1.5 million over a few years. But you know how these things go. Eventually, things started falling apart. It's not crystal clear when the investigation started, but I bet Amazon caught on to a pattern in the names and addresses linked to these sketchy claims. That's probably what got the FBI involved. Jeffrey placed a phony order under a twist of his girlfriend's name. And that's when things got interesting for the FBI. They traced the digital breadcrumbs back to Jeffrey. They connected the dots from the IP address used to create the account, linking it straight to Jeffrey again. Then, when Jeffrey ordered those textbooks, the IP address led right back to his home in Michigan. And get this, after claiming he got flammable stuff instead of his order, Amazon gave him credit. Guess what he did with it? Bought more books, leaving a trail for the investigators to follow. The FBI nailed Jeffrey again when they traced that call back to him. If they could link one order so easily, I bet they did the same for a bunch more he and his crew made. The case docs mention the FBI questioning Jeffrey and his crew. When grilled, Jeffrey straight up lied, saying he never used other folks' names or addresses for book deliveries. The other gang members faced the FBI too. From what I read, they admitted they joined in because they were struggling financially. They promised to spill everything they knew about the scheme. These 3 crew members pleaded guilty on January 26, 2022. They owned up, saying Jeffrey was the brains behind it all, teaching them the ropes. But Jeffrey took a different path. A month later, on February 25, 2022, he pleaded guilty to mail fraud and aggravated identity theft. The maximum punishment for mail fraud is 20 years, and for aggravated identity theft is 2 years. That's a lot of time to maybe catch up on some serious reading, but in a very different setting. So, here's the lesson from this case. Be cautious about letting others use your name or address. Always ask questions to know why they need it. Legit folks doing good business should use their own info. If someone wants to use your name or address, that's a big warning sign. Don't let money dazzle you. It comes and goes, but the time you lose behind bars, away from family, that's something you can't get back. Like and subscribe. Until next time.